Berserk has always been a god-tier manga, an absolute legend in the genre of dark fantasy, a one-of-a-kind manga that no one else could replicate. Yet, somehow, every Berserk anime adaptation has been a tragedy. And not the poetic kind Miura wrote, just a disaster. The 1997 series was solid, but it was incomplete. The series ended just before all the chaos was about to unfold. The Golden Age arc was merely the prologue. The true horror never made it to the screen. Then came the 2016 to 2017 adaptation, a CGI disaster. A PlayStation 2 cutscene brought to life in the worst way possible. Stiff animation, awful direction, the fights lacked weight, and the story lacked soul. It's a disgrace. A legendary manga deserves a legendary adaptation, but for decades, Berserk has been denied that. And that's when we wonder, why is one of the most iconic and emotionally devastating stories never got the anime adaptation it truly deserves? The industry's sleeping on the kind of story that has a lot of potential, and today we're going to talk about why that needs to change, and why it's time for the Black Swordsman to finally get the adaptation he's been waiting for. Berserk first came into being in 1989, when it quickly became one of the most iconic dark fantasy manga of that time. It was written by Kentaro Miura, a legendary manga writer of his time. The plot revolves around a lonely man named Guts and his massive sword. This was before it became a stereotype. Guts was a man who wrote his own destiny as a warrior who just could not relax. He had been suffering ever since he came into the world, and the way he came into the world is another story. His life is a never-ending battle. Demons follow him everywhere, destiny wants to shatter him, and Griffith, the one person he trusted the most, betrayed him in the worst way possible, sending him on a journey of vengeance, survival, and terrible misery. However, Berserk's not only about brutal fights. It's a deep and dark story revolving around trauma, revenge, fate, and sacrifice. It shows us how one can lose every single thing and still keep moving forward. The Golden Age arc of Berserk is easily one of the greatest arcs in the history of manga. It's the kind of experience that sticks with you long after you've finished reading it. Without Berserk, we wouldn't be seeing the dark fantasy genre the way we see it now. Have you ever played Dark Souls and Elden Ring? Their dark worlds are filled with unimaginable monsters and struggles. Where did they come from? They were all inspired by Berserk, and that's a fact. Even Final Fantasy has some traces of Berserk elements. If you look at Cloud's Buster Sword, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Anime? Berserk left its mark everywhere. Vinland Saga's brutal realism, Claymore's monster-infested nightmare, Attack on Titan's horrific tragedies, even Devilman Crybaby carries echoes of Miura's work. And while Demon Slayer may seem polished, its themes of trauma and revenge owe a debt to Berserk as well. Griffith's betrayal during the eclipse, it set the standard for soul-crushing betrayals in anime. And Guts' Black Swordsman arc? The blueprint for every brooding, lone wolf anime protagonist to come. For a manga as legendary as Berserk, its anime adaptations have been anything but. What should have been an epic, faithful adaptation has instead been a history of disappointment, missed opportunities, and outright disasters. The 1997 anime was the first attempt, and while it had its strengths, it was far from definitive. Produced by OLM, Pokemon, Yojo Senki, it adapted only the Golden Age arc, leaving out key elements like Skull Knight and crucial foreshadowing that gave the story its full weight. The hand-drawn animation did capture the dark tone of Berserk pretty well. However, the budget restraints could not let it shine properly. Battles lacked luster, action scenes didn't make an impact, and the brutality of the manga was also watered down. The worst part about all of this is that it ended right at the eclipse. Newcomers were left traumatized and confused. Then came the 2012 to 2013 Berserk movie trilogy. 3 films covered the Golden Age arc once again, this time in CGI. The reception was mixed. Griffith's speech about dreams and Guts' duel with Boss Gon were beautifully executed, but the pacing was too fast. 3 movies weren't enough to capture the depth of the story. The CGI, while not the worst, still felt lifeless, lacking the weight and the grit that the manga was known for. Then came the 2016 to 2017 anime, the true disaster. The worst thing to happen to Guts since the eclipse. Horrendous CGI, janky animation, the pacing was laughable. It really looked like it was made in a blender by a fan with a budget of $12. But at least Susumu Hirasawa's soundtrack was amazing. It was the only good thing about the series. All other elements, including bad direction, stiff animation, and butchered iconic moments, made it an insult to Berserk's legacy. In 2021, the passing of Kentaro Miura proved to be devastating for everyone. He was a gem in the manga industry that we lost too soon. With him, he took an unfinished Berserk manga, and his death cast a long shadow over the series. There were many studios that could have taken the heavy responsibility of continuing the manga, but they decided not to do it out of respect. Berserk was Miura's life work. No studio would have been able to recreate the legacy that Miura did. They would have failed to carry the weight of it. Next, there's the curse of Berserk adaptations. Every effort since 1997 has failed, be it the rushed Golden Age films or the notorious CGI fiasco of 2016 to 2017. Studios may worry that regardless of their efforts, fans won't accept any alterations or flaws. The expectations are extremely high, and considering Berserk's devoted fanbase, failing isn't an option. Now, another major problem is the content and story itself. There's no way Berserk fits into the mainstream anime standards. Berserk is extremely brutal, even by seinen standards. Gore and blood are one thing, but what about violence, trauma, SA violence? Some of the darkest aspects of human nature. These things are to be kept in mind before heading towards an anime adaptation. A proper adaptation would require a studio going all in, unflinching in its portrayal of the manga's most disturbing moments. And when it comes to budget, the adaptation would need a lot of it. The only thing that could do all the brutal battles some justice is the high-quality animation. Half-hearted animation would yield the same result as before. Hypothetically speaking, if Berserk ever gets an animation, only a few studios would be considered for such an intricate job. Each of these studios has its strengths and weaknesses when it comes to creating an anime for Berserk. They can either make or break the project. There's no in between. First off, let's talk about MAPPA. This studio's proven itself time and time again with the kind of animation it brings to the table. Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Attack on Titan Final Season are some of the best works of MAPPA. They have everything that a good action anime would require. And the best thing is that they can handle Berserk's brutality. However, MAPPA is also known for overworking animators and rushing projects due to their overloaded schedule. A rushed Berserk adaptation would be nothing but a disaster. Ufotable's a dream pick. With Demon Slayer and Fate Zero, they've mastered cinematic animation, dynamic lighting, and fluid battle sequences. Their ability to blend CGI seamlessly into hand-drawn animation would be a perfect fit for Guts' brutal fights. However, their heavy use of stylized visuals might not fit Berserk's gritty, grounded aesthetic. Wit Studio, known for Vinland Saga and Attack on Titan Season 1 through 3, has the perfect track record for historical, war-heavy anime, with emotional depth. Wit Studio is known for its gorgeous anime style and compelling action that leaves viewers stunned at the quality. However, this studio has a habit of dropping projects midway. And with Berserk's anime adaptation, we can't take any more risks like that. Madhouse blessed us with Hunter x Hunter, One Punch Man Season 1, and Death Note. The anime under their belt is nothing short of legendary. This studio knows how to handle fast-paced action and storytelling. However, Madhouse does not really take on long-running projects currently. This makes Madhouse an unlikely choice. At the end of the day, Berserk needs a studio that can handle both its raw brutality and deep emotional weight, and one willing to commit to the long haul. If Berserk's ever remade, it can't just be another retelling of the Golden Age arc. It needs to be a full adaptation, done right from start to finish. The Golden Age arc is undeniably one of the greatest arcs in manga history, but every adaptation so far has either rushed it, Berserk movies, or left out crucial details, 1997 anime. A proper remake must honor the pacing, the characters and their dynamic, and stay true to the manga. Berserk doesn't need CGI in the slightest, so there shouldn't even be a hint of it. And the brutality needs to be added too, in order to make the full impact. But Berserk isn't just the Golden Age arc. The Black Swordsman arc has always been ignored in adaptations, yet it sets the tone for the entire series. It introduces Guts as the battle-hardened lone warrior before revealing the tragic past that shaped him. Skipping it again would be a mistake. Then there's the Conviction arc, Millennium Falcon arc, and Fantasia arc, all of which deserve high-quality adaptations. If anime can give us over 100 episodes of One Piece's pacing, there's no reason Berserk shouldn't get a proper long-term adaptation. Berserk isn't just another anime. It's one of the most iconic, emotionally devastating, and visually stunning stories ever written. It deserves nothing less but the absolute best. There hasn't been any official news about a Berserk remake yet, but there are strong signs that it could happen. Since Miura's passing, his team at Studio Gaga have been continuing the manga under the guidance of his close friend, Koji Mori. This continuation shows that Berserk is still alive and well, keeping fans engaged and ensuring that the story reaches its proper conclusion. If the manga remains successful, it can increase the chances of a new anime adaptation. The rise of dark fantasy anime and the overwhelming success of Elden Ring, a game heavily inspired by Berserk, could push studios to finally take the risk. There's clearly an audience for dark, mature fantasy, and no series fits that niche better than Berserk. As for the voice cast, some veteran voice actors could return. but a new adaptation might bring in fresh talent to redefine these legendary roles. If done right, a Berserk remake wouldn't just be another anime. It could set a new gold standard for dark fantasy storytelling. Berserk's simply too legendary to be left with subpar adaptations. It's one of the most beloved and influential manga of all time. Yet every attempt to bring it to the screen has fallen short. A story of this magnitude deserves an anime worthy of its name, one that captures the brutality, the depth, and the raw emotion that made Berserk a masterpiece. If series like Vinland Saga, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Attack on Titan can receive top-tier animation, then there's no excuse for Berserk to be left behind. It's a story that has shaped the entire dark fantasy genre, inspiring anime, games, and countless other works. A proper adaptation wouldn't just be a win for fans, it would be a game changer for the anime industry. More than anything, this is about honoring Miura's legacy. He sacrificed his health and time to bless us with such a masterpiece. It should be given all the respect and love in this world. Fans have waited long enough, and Miura deserves it. Guts deserves it. It's time for Berserk to finally get the adaptation it always should have had years ago.
It's just my nature. I'd rather fight with my sword than run away, that's all.
So that's the only reason? You fought 100 men because it's not in your nature to run away.
Yeah, pretty much.